So now I call here to the floor Lennart Svensson from Sweden for our panel discussion and Q&A session. So I wait for your questions. And he's representative of the Vanguard Initiative and chairman of the European Forum for Clusters in Emerging Industries. And I will also call Armando Di Crinito. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Armando Di Crinito, and you already heard him, and he's Deputy General Manager at Regione Lombardia Directorate for Enterprise, Research and Innovation. Thank you again for joining us on the stage. So now we will briefly discuss what do regions need to foster innovation in order to help create new emerging industries. That they can be new industries or traditional industries already existent that they just need to transform in order to create new products and new services for the market. So if you understand, let us understand better what really do regions need in order to create a positive framework for positive actions for citizens and entrepreneurs. So we will start from Lennart Svensson because he is representative of the Vanguard Initiative, and maybe he can also talk a little bit of his experience of yesterday at the Vanguard conference, so we can all share a vision of Vanguard, what Vanguard Initiative is.
Thank you. Well, the shortest answer on what we need as a region, I'm also representative for Skåne region, is we need to cooperate. And that is very simple and very difficult. And that is very much what Vanguard Initiative is. And my colleague, Carlos Calderia, presented it very well, so I won't go into details. But Vanguard Initiative is built on the idea around smart specialization. And that is the innovation strategy for the region that cooperate. And we have heard a lot of things about new value chains and so on. And the truth is that regions are essential for this in many ways. One way is that we are sort of facilitators, we are policy makers, there is a political leadership in this. The other is, and I think it maybe wasn't enough mentioned, that in many cases regions are what companies need most, a very big customer. So to use our own organization, as in Skåne, for example, we are 32,000 employees. We are responsible for healthcare, transport, culture, and so on. And what we did yesterday in the Vanguard Initiative, we agreed on this Milan Declaration. We are 21 regions. It's built, as said, on political leadership and through smart specialization. And I think also it needs to say that one of the most important things in this that to be able to cooperate, you need to create trust between people, and that is a thing that I saw yesterday, that our politicians started to cooperate, and there was sort of sub-meetings ongoing on bioeconomy and so on. It was very much built on the trust that are created on the way. And the last thing in this is that there always has to be a reason to cooperate. If we don't have a reason to cooperate, nothing happens. Money isn't important if there isn't a reason. So there are, in Vanguard Initiative, 3 pilots, and there will be maybe 2 more. There are pilots around financial engineering and so on. But I think that using smart specialization, our own innovation strategy, that it's not a competition strategy, it's a cooperation strategy. So using our own strategies in Skåne, our profile is like this. Because of that, we want to cooperate on this. And then Vanguard Initiative is very, very good, we think, environment to cooperate.
So you talked about trust, cooperation, and a reason to cooperate. And the reason, in my opinion, is to create value. But of course, we have to create values throughout our own specialization. So your regions create value, bringing them their own experience in their own specialization. I mean, how do you foster innovation through value chain industries, traditional, already established? Because, you know, when you create value throughout innovation, it's maybe easier throughout startups. How do you find industries, traditional industries, that want to cooperate in the Vanguard program?
I think that the heart in this pilot, and to say we have started with advanced manufacturing, as that is sort of interest from the Commission, also from the regions. But there are examples like harsh environments, blue growth, and we have cooperations going on with Tampere on smart sustainable cities. I think that the heart again is that when regions don't just have sort of solutions, also have some needs. So if you find, like in Skåne we have the Nano initiative, we also have smart sustainable cities. So if we get into this, in the heart, we find retrofitting of old cities. That's a need that we have. And we have part of the solution, but we don't have all the solution. So we said, let's cooperate on this issue, retrofitting of old city parts, Rosengård and Malmö. Okay, this is also an issue for Tampere, Hamburg, other regions, and in this case, in Vanguard Initiative. And then we invite to cooperate on this, and we have a part of the solution. And you have another part, you have another part, and then we can, through cluster initiatives, so if you can use your cluster initiative in this, and we can bring them together and work on the issue, and in this issue is business. Because in many cases, like retrofitting of old city parts, it's a big market. So I think that in the end, the reason is many times the needs, and then we cooperate on the solutions together. And if we, as we have in Vanguard Initiative, the trust that's needed and the political support, it's possible.
You mentioned smart cities, and everybody really, now it's in hype. Everybody's talking about smart cities, smart city actions. There are also European funds on that. But also it's a good point that retrofitting old cities and transforming them in smart cities, it's really important for our region, for our continent. Thank you also for mentioning sustainability, because we also need sustainable cities. And also Mr. Althola mentioned sustainability. I visited the Canary Islands, and they are really fantastic. But I guess that you also have great problems in managing the waste and water and natural resources. And of course, we as tourists don't want to exploit natural resources that are so scarce and so precious for you. So I guess that for you, the mentioning of sustainable tourism is really essential for your own life. Do you think that sustainability is also an engine of growth, not only for your community, but also for services and industry in the emerging industries context? Yes, should be open. Let's try.
Yes. I think that innovation policy is never one size fits all suit. So what I mean is, for example, in the case of sustainability, the traits of tourist economy are different from other type of economy. At the same time, for example, the sustainability, the sustainability requirements, for example, in developing countries and developing regions are very different from those in Europe. So in our case, we think that promoting sustainability is a big opportunity, and we will focus on two specific characteristics, and one will be, of course, the requirements of tourist economies, and the other one will be the requirements of developing countries, because we have developing countries very close to us. And in fact, we think that that should be an opportunity for European industry, since they have a logistic base into Canary Islands if they want to get into Africa, and developing sustainability in Africa, for example. I think that is crucial for our future, for the future of all of us.
And it's good hearing that Canary Islands can also be a hub for our exports goods or a hub for transport toward Africa, toward the US. Are you working on that to become a hub with all your great amount of international airports? I heard about also your commercial ports. So you want to be a hub, and how can the European framework help you to reach this target?
Yes, I think that in the last years there has been a big change in European policy regarding outermost regions. So I think that, some time ago we were considered, and maybe we consider ourselves like a burden. And I think that we have to change that view, because we can be an opportunity. And being an opportunity is, as the Commission says, being an outpost of Europe in the world. So we have we have to develop such hubs, in the Canary Islands and in other outermost regions, because we are the most developed regions as compared to any region around us. And if it is European industry who develops those regions, or who contributes to develop those regions, they will have, an added value if they use. If they base part of their activity in outermost regions that are close to those regions in need. And if it is not the European industry, some other countries, some other nation will do that, that's for sure.
That's sure. And so Europe shouldn't miss this opportunity. And now let's talk about Lombardy. We are in Lombardy here, and we learned that €1 billion of investments in innovation will be spread along next 7 years. So it's a huge amount of money. And I wanted to ask Mr. De Crinito, what policies from Europe Lombardy needs?
Okay, thank you. But I think we have one little problem like the other region in Europe, because we manage in the next 7 years several funds, specific structural fund and social fund. But the problem is to manage this fund in only one way and only one fund. Once managed in one action that I can pay with social fund the people, and with the structural fund the enterprise. Sometimes the region have the problem to have only one measures for support one action, but we have to use this different fund with different action, with one only measure. Yes, the problem is for all Europe, and I agree with Mr. Svensson when he told before that the region are study the possibility to have only one pilot project, but it's very easy when you have the support from the European Commission and the support arrive at our industry. But if we have to put the money that we manage as a region is more difficult to arrive and to have a specific goal. I don't know if I...
Yes. And how do you comment, Mr. Svensson? Is it true in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly the same for us, also with our structural fund. But I think what is in the Vanguard initiative, and if we sort of like, when we find reasons to cooperate, like blue growth and small cities, whatever, it's possible to use our structural funds and connect to that issue. Could be retrofitting awards, it could whatever. And if you then can, like magnetic power, put them together, you even haven't to maybe to move them over the border, but you can click them together around the same issue. And I think we can convince our politicians that if we cooperate on this, your structural fund will be more value added than if we take them our own. And also, it's possible maybe that one of your company is the solution to our need, so you can sell products to Skåne. So that is sort of, we have to find a new way to use our structural fund, not just to optimize our own competitive position, more of how to cooperate.
That's true, and it's very true that what Lisbeth Balpoulsen told us before, that we have to be more creative. So let's put imagination at work. And yesterday also we heard an entrepreneur saying that we have not to survive. We have to create value. I mean, if we are concentrated in surviving in a crisis time, we will not overcome the crisis. We have to be more creative and use these funds and cooperate throughout regions. And that's what this conference also teach us. So I thank all the organizers, because also they can put all our imagination at work better, and we can ask funds and funding for good projects across regions, and that's very enlightening for me. Now I wait for your questions. I know that there is somebody, yes, who want to contribute to our discussion. Thank you.
Yes, one of the pillars of EU 2020 strategy is to simplify rules to allow companies to access programs and funds. So my question is, which are your ideas to simplify? Because I think this is a very important part of a sustainable strategy for EU Commission.
Yes, that's true. The administrative burden was also pointed out yesterday, and it's really huge for SMEs in particular. How we comment?
I think that of course, there's a need to simplify this. But what you also can do, you can cooperate on the issue of smart funding. And then the cluster initiative, the cluster organizations could be a tool for helping SMEs to get on the track, so to say. And also I think that sometimes we forget that it's not, even I really support clusters, and we have 6 clusters in Skåne. I think that sometimes we forget that there is an innovation support system. In Skåne is 150 different actors that is around the companies and around the clusters. So and the final thing is, I think that smart specialization is also very much to create support of alignment of funding. So in our Innovation Council, we have created a financing engineering network. So my answer is that we should put this on the agenda, and we could use, for example, the university's capability to go for the complicated course, and we can help the companies to use the cluster can connect to university, and then we can do something together. So that is a very important issue, I think.
Yes, clusters' importance was also pointed out today by Ms. Poulsen. Let's use our clusters and our facilitators network. Each state of the EU has this kind of centers. Also Lombardy has. Use them, please. There are great innovators and facilitators that can help you. Is it true?
Yes, we have, as I mentioned before, we have 9 clusters in our territory, but they are very young, and they are improve the utility for the enterprise, for organization, research center, and they are working with us to write our strategic program for research and innovation. But this is in growth during this time, and I hope they will be real strong cluster in no more time, because as region political for cluster we are very, very young too, and because our research strategy in the past is always concentrated in specific action for enterprise, for research center, but not for cluster. We are young in this argument.
There is a question at the second row. Thank you. We need a microphone there. Yes, thank you. The clusters are so young, but they have to grow, and they can grow only by cooperation. Would you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, I think that one change process that's important is that the sort of old definition of clusters called the Porter and so on was maybe that the member should be in your own region. But when they are developing from excellence, your own region, the places, to the issues, even the clusters, like we have a PEC-RICH cluster initiative in Skåne, it has close to 300 members, but they are all over from Europe. They are cross-border. So if you can sort of convince your politician that it's not bad for the region to have members from all over the place, then the cluster themselves become facilitators. So I think that is a change that we have to do. So, you're not from Skåne, you can't be a member of our cluster initiative. But you are from the Canary Islands? Yeah, you are interested in packaging, you are welcome. So that is sort of a new attitude, more of an open innovation attitude.
It's a new way to work. We have to change.
Yeah, change your mindset.
Yes.